We're looking at the application form for the One Parent Family Payment. This is a payment from the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection, and it's aimed at people who are parenting alone. Now, to qualify, the youngest child must be aged under 7, that if you as a parent are in work, that your earnings from work are less than €425 a week, and also that you're not cohabiting and not living with the partner or parent of your child. You may also have additional responsibilities of caring for a child with additional needs, so your child may also be in receipt of domiciliary care allowance, and yet they're aged over 7. You may also then be eligible for One Parent Family Payment for a child that's aged up to 16, as long as that child is in receipt of domiciliary care allowance. And you may also qualify for the half rate of carers allowance. So this may apply to you if you are recently separated and that you've been living apart for 3 months and again have a child under the age of 7. You may be a pregnant woman who expects to be parenting alone and not cohabiting. You may be eligible for this payment on the birth of your baby. You may also be in a relationship that's ended and you're living apart, and you can also apply for the payment at this point. So this is the first page of the application form, and it's important to use a black pen when completing it and also to use capital letters for the application form. At the start, we've got here part 1, your own details. So this is your PPS number, followed by your title, followed by your surname and first name. Also to use your first name as it appears on your birth certificate if you changed your name at any point. Also include your birth surname, your date of birth and your mother's birth surname. Contact details, so this is your current address, include your postcode, your telephone number, so you may have a mobile and a landline, and also your email address, so this makes it a lot easier if the person needs to contact you from the department. The final part of the page is the declaration, and this is you're declaring that the information given by you on this form is truthful and complete. So again, really important to sign that and also date it. Part 1, continue, the country that you were born in and your status. So this gives you several different options, and just to tick the relevant box here. If you are married or in a civil partnership or a civil union or cohabiting, you're also looking at from what date, and you'll also need to attach your marriage certificate or civil partnership certificate with you as well. If you're divorced or your civil partnership or civil union is dissolved, you're no longer cohabiting, when did this happen? So again, a date there, and as close as you can remember if you don't have an exact date. How long have you lived at the address, and the address also that you lived at before this one as well. Did you apply for the One Parent Family Payment in the past? And if you did, put in the date that you applied if you remember. You may also be on another type of employment scheme, or you may be receiving other allowances. So this may be in a community employment scheme, you're on a Back to Work Enterprise allowance, you've gone into education and receiving Back to Education allowance, or other kind of job programs that are available. So also what you'll need to complete on this page is the date you started the course or scheme and the amount that you get paid for this. Question 30 is asking about your savings or accounts in a bank, post office, building society, credit union or any other financial institution in the Republic of Ireland or another country. So you will need to give details of those financial institutions, including the bank identifier code and the international bank account number and the current balance. It will also ask you if the account is a joint account. So it's important to include all the details of the financial institutions that you have in your name. You'll also be asked to attach an original statement for each account showing transactions for the last 3 months. And again, if you have other accounts, to add these on a separate sheet of paper. So the next 3 questions are asking about any other accounts with financial institutions. Do you own any stocks and shares, or have any bonds or other funds? And finally, do you own, share in the ownership, work or rent a farm or land? It will also ask you if you own or share in the ownership of any other property apart from your home. So you may be renting or have a home that you are purchasing and have another property that is rented out. So again, this is where they want to know details of that. You will need to put the current market value and also from the rent from this property if that applies. It will also ask if you've sold or transferred property recently, including a farm or any other land. So if you have any other income, that you give details in the space provided. And also, if you've not applied within 3 months of becoming eligible, this is where you can give the reasons why you've not applied. So it's important to apply as soon as you believe that you become eligible, otherwise you may lose some of the payment. You may also be eligible for the one-parent family payment if you are widowed or are a surviving civil partner, or if the person you are living with has died. So you need to include these details here and attach a death certificate. There are some further questions about this, and also if you are no longer living with your civil partner or your civil partnership has been dissolved. You also need to include this information here, as well as if you are separated from your spouse, so if you're married and separated. Question 43 is whether you have a legal separation. 44 to 47 is if your spouse, civil partner or cohabitant is in prison at present. So part 2 is asking you for details of your spouse, your civil partner, your former cohabitant or the other parent of your child. So again, similar information, their PPS number, their title, their surname, their first name, date of birth, their mother's birth surname if known, and their address, and what country were they born in. You may have a lot of that information or you may only have a small amount, so put in as much as you possibly can, and this may be followed up when the department meet with you. You can also put in about whether your spouse, civil partner or cohabitant is employed and if they're on a community employment scheme or any other courses, and also including details of their pay if known. Your spouse, civil partner or former cohabitant may also be receiving a social welfare payment from the department. So question 60 will ask you about this payment and the amount. Again, if you have that information and you know it, you can include it here. And as we move into part 3, this is asking you about your qualified children. So a qualified child is a child aged under 18 or aged 18 to 22 in full-time education. The primary eligibility for the one-parent family payment is that your youngest child is under the age of 7, but you can list all your dependent children here. So again, you can add in a separate sheet of paper for other children that you have, but the form has space for 3 children. Does anyone else live with you apart from the children? So again, if you have other people living with you, this may be a parent, for example, or a sibling or a friend, you can include this information here. And finally, part 5 is the habitual residence condition. So this section has to be completed by all applicants, and it is one of the requirements to satisfy this for the one-parent family payment. So the details here are what country you were born in, your nationality, when you came to live in the Republic of Ireland, and where you've lived all of your life, including the last 2 years. So this includes the common travel area. The common travel area is Ireland, Great Britain, the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands. If you've lived in several different countries, there's the information here that you can put what countries you've lived in, from and to, and why you lived there at the time. We'll also ask you if you've lived at the same address for the last 2 years and where you've lived if you've lived in other places. I'll also ask if you've lived continuously in Ireland since the day you arrived. We'll also ask about any other close family members, for example, a parent, brother, sister or child may live in Ireland. Towards the end of this page, it will also ask if you've ever made an application for refugee status, and if so, are you waiting a decision on this application? We'll also ask if you have been granted a refugee status or leave to remain in the state, and whether you have a Garda National Immigration Bureau card. So again, if you have a copy of that, please include a photocopy of it with your application. This is part 6, so this is about your payment details. The one-parent family payment can be paid into a bank account, and if you wish that to happen, you can include your bank details here, again with the bank identifier code, the international bank account number, and your name. Alternatively, you may have your payment available to collect in the post office, so again, important to include the local post office name and address where you wish to pick your payment up. So finally, as you complete the application form, you might want to just do a checklist that you've enclosed all the following information with your application form. You need to include bank statements, either a P60 or statement from an accountant if you're self-employed. You may include 3 recent pay slips, proof of your mortgage payments or your rent receipts, a letter from school or college if you have older children aged between 18 and 22 in full-time education. If you have any family law court orders regarding maintenance, this may be a summons or a court order, whether you have a separation agreement, and also whether you have any certificates regarding a divorce or the dissolution of a civil partnership or civil union certificate. So again, remember to sign a declaration in part 1, and there is also another part 8 which needs to be completed by your employer for the final part of this application form.
Once you've completed the application form, you can send it into your local Intrio centre or your local social welfare office. It's always a good idea to keep a photocopy of the form for your own records.